first part that we're going to be talking about is reviewing our time. Reviewing the different parts of our clock and how to tell time and introducing something a little new. So we know that we have our hour hand, which is our shorthand, our minute hand, which is our longhand. We know that our big numbers going around the clock tell us our hour, but when our minute hand moves around a clock, we have to count by fives to figure out how many minutes are on each big number. So for example, if I were to say what time is it here, I would look at my hour first. I would see that it's 4, and I would see that my minute hand is on the 12, which always tells me it's o'clock. So over here on my time, I would write, I'm gonna use my red for the hour to match my hour hand, and then I'm going to write o'clock for my minutes, okay? Now, a little while ago, we talked about, if I asked you the question, what is 1 hour later, you would look at the clock and you would say, okay, well, I know the hour is 4. I know the hour is 4, and 1 hour later, 1 more than 4 is 5. So my minute hand would go around the clock once, and my hour hand moves once. So if I said, what's 1 hour later? You would say 5 o'clock. We've done that before, pretty simple. Practice doing 1 hour laters because today we're going to be doing what is called a half an hour later. So I know we've talked about dividing things in half earlier last week and dividing numbers in half. And so how many minutes are there in 1 whole hour? If you forget, here's how we can figure it out. We're gonna count by fives all the way around the clock. Count with me. Ready, go. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. We know there are 60 minutes in a whole hour. So when I said 1 hour later, it's like saying what is 60 minutes later. But if I say what is a half an hour later, I know, okay, well half, I need to split the number 60 because there's 60 minutes in an hour in half. So if I go all the way around the clock, that's a whole hour. But if I stop and only go halfway around, if you pretended my clock was pizza, remember we were dividing our pizza in half? If we stopped halfway, which is on our 6, that's half of our hour. So let's count how many minutes is in half an hour. Let's see. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 30 minutes is the same as half an hour. So let's write that up here to keep that in mind. So we're gonna write half hour is the same as equal to 30 minutes. So my question for you today is gonna be, what is a half an hour later? We know an hour, we just changed our hour number. But for a half an hour, we have to look at our minutes now. So let's go back. Let's say we had our time like we had a minute ago at 4 o'clock. And my question to you, what is a half an hour later? That means I need to add 30 more minutes to my time to figure out what a half an hour later is. So we have it at 4 o'clock. We're gonna count by fives with our minute hand now and stop when we get to 30 because a half an hour is 30 minutes. Okay, ready, go. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Stop. Now I'm gonna read what my time says now. Now it's between my 4 and my 5, and I know that I always need to choose my smaller number. So my hour is going to be 4. And I know when my minute hand is at the 6, that means it's 30 minutes. So I know my time is now 4:30. So I'm gonna add that up here. We're gonna say a half an hour later is 4:30. So 4 o'clock, we added 30 minutes. A half an hour later is 4:30. Now let's try something a little different. What if we, instead of starting at 4 o'clock, let's change it up a little bit. Let's start with a different time. Let's start with 5:20. Oops, let's use it. Let's start with 5:20. So I'm gonna set my time here to 5:20. So I'm gonna swirl it around right about there. It's in between, but I know my hour is 5 and my minute hand's on the 4 to show that it's 20 minutes. So my clock here now says 5:20. Now my question to you is, what is a half an hour later? We know a half an hour is 30 minutes. So I need to add 30 minutes to my clock. If you have a clock at home, do this along with me, okay? We're gonna count by 5s and stop when we get to 30 minutes. Now it's not gonna be at our 30 minutes down here like it usually is. It's gonna be any of these numbers depending on where my 30 is, where it stops when we count to 30. So ready, go. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I'm gonna stop. It is halfway around my clock. And we stopped, we're still in the 5 o'clock hour, we're getting really close to 6, but we're not there yet. We're still in my 5 o'clock hour, and I'm at the 10, which means it's 50 minutes. So my time, 30 minutes later than 5:20, is going to be 5:50. So you can start anywhere around the clock and add 30 minutes just by counting by 5s. And that 30 minutes means a half an hour later. So on your paper today, they're gonna give you the first 2 times, just like I started with 5:20. And then they're gonna ask you, what is a half an hour later? And they're giving you 3 different options to choose from. So then you're gonna add 30 minutes, count by 5s, and figure out what 30 minutes, what the half an hour later is, and you're gonna bubble in the correct answer. So there's our first part of math. The second thing we're gonna talk about is graphing. So let's check out this graphing activity. All right, first grade, so this is the second part of our paper today. So on the back, you're gonna see a graph. Now we have used graphs in class before, especially way back at the beginning when we've talked about our different science lessons. We've talked about doing our experiments, our hypothesis, our experiment, and then our conclusion. We would oftentimes graph our results to show what we learned. So today it's kind of like you're doing an experiment, but it's a little more like a survey. Now on our paper, we're gonna change something because it says to graph our results of the different favorite sandwiches of people in our class. Well, no one's in class right now, you all are at home, so that's not gonna work. So here's what I want you to do instead. Instead of looking to graph the people in our class, I want you to go around and ask your family what their favorite sandwiches are. So there's the 3 different options at the top. So I'm gonna put them big on the board so you can see them a little better. The first option is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Ooh, I'll give you a hint, that's Miss Stam's favorite of all of these. So the first option is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The second option you have is a grilled cheese sandwich. Some of you love to buy this when we go buy food when we were back in school in our cafeteria. I know some of you liked grilled cheese. And then the third option you're gonna go around and ask your family is a turkey sandwich. So those are the 3 different options that you're gonna use to go and ask people in your family. Now, you might only have a few people at home. Maybe you're only home with mom today or only home with dad. You could call grandma or grandpa, you could call a cousin, maybe you could call brother or sister if they're not with you at home. Ask a few different people what their favorite sandwiches are, and then we're gonna graph those together on our graph. So let's take a look at our graph up here. On the top part of our graph, I'm gonna zoom this in to start it off. Okay, it shows our 3 different kinds that I just showed you. Peanut butter, grilled cheese, and turkey. Now we're gonna use tally marks to show how many people liked each of those sandwiches the most, okay? And make sure you include yourself in our survey. Now tomorrow in our video, we're gonna talk a little bit more about what tally marks look like, but this will be a little introduction today. So, boys and girls, I went around and asked my family, and I have the results that I'm going to graph up here of who in my family liked those different types of sandwiches. So, first off, Miss Stam was the only person in her family that liked peanut butter and jelly the most. So I'm only gonna put 1 tally mark underneath peanut butter and jelly. Now, under grilled cheese, I called a few different people, and I had 3 different people that liked grilled cheese sandwiches. So I'm gonna put 3 tallies. And then turkey, people loved the most. So for the turkey sandwiches, I had 10 different people like turkey sandwiches. Now when we do our tally marks, remember each time we get to groups of 5, we have to put a stripe through on the 5th one. So watch how they do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on that 5th one, we have to cross it out because it helps us to count by 5s when we have a whole bunch of lines. If we group it, it makes it easier to count. So that was 5, now we're gonna keep going. 6, 7, 8, 9, and on the 10th one, we're gonna cross. So I had just me who liked peanut butter and jelly, 3 that liked grilled cheese, and 10 that liked turkey. So now we've written our different numbers down. I want you to also as well actually write the number next to tally. So I had 1, I had 3, and I had 10. Just to help us visualize it a little bit better. Now, if you have some crayons at home, maybe get out some crayons, maybe pick your 3 different color crayons, 3 different favorite colors that we'll use to color each of these boxes. So now that we've written down our information, now we're going to graph it. So first I see peanut butter and jelly. Now the way our graph works is it's counting by 5s along the bottom, okay? And then we're gonna fill in each bar for that amount of people that like that kind of sandwich. So on the peanut butter row, how many people did I have? Only 1. So I'm gonna use my black to start with, and I'm just going to color in 1 bar, because it was just me. And then for our grilled cheese, we had 3 different people. So counting along the bottom, I'm looking here, we're gonna count, I'm gonna use a different color. Let's use blue. I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3 that liked grilled cheese, and I'm gonna color that in. And then lastly, turkey had 10. So I'm gonna use my red over here. And I'm gonna count, it's gonna make it a little quicker. 5, 10. I don't need to count each individual one. It's kind of like counting our tallies. You're counting groups. So all the way to 10, I'm gonna draw my line, go all the way across. And then you're gonna color it in. Now boys and girls, your numbers will be different than my numbers up here. So you'll have different people. Maybe you'll have more people liking peanut butter than I did in my family. So once you have filled in your graph using your different colors, then you're gonna answer the questions below. The questions below are asking you which sandwich did most students like the best, or in this case, for your family. Remember, we're changing that word students to your family. Which sandwich did most people in your family like the best? Well, in this case, my family, I would bubble in turkey. The next question is, which sandwich did the fewest like the best? Well, that was peanut butter and jelly. That was Miss Sam. So peanut butter and jelly, or peanut butter, would be the fewest. And then the last question is, which sandwich did you choose in the survey? Remember, don't forget to add yourself in your own survey, and then you would bubble in. So I would bubble in peanut butter. So have fun today, boys and girls, calling different family members and asking them what their favorite sandwich is between these 3 and graph your results. I can't wait to see what you find out at home. All right, keep up the good work, first grade. We'll see you later.